And this is our first live, so I am just trying to work out exactly how I go live here and how to share my screen. I didn't know I was going to just jump straight into it. So if everyone's watching, it's Blake Cooper here from Equalizer, and we're going to do a little bit of a dive or a deep sort of dive into Equalizer and run through some things there. I wanted to see how I share my screen here. I would have imagined I could easily bring it up. Hope I have access to share screen. Maybe this wasn't the best way to go through and Okay, it looks like I've started a little bit early on the live. I thought I could get in and then share my screen, but from what I'm seeing here, I may not be able to. But seeing as some people are jumping on, I'm happy to answer any questions, anything like that, and do a bit of a live session this way, if that helps. I would love to be able to bring my screen up, though. Thanks for that. I'm seeing we've got the nice painting there. So the chat's definitely running. It's not working exactly how I anticipated, and that was because I really wanted to run through the website and show people how it worked, and that way we could have basically had a deep dive into some data and some sites that we look at to get an idea on what's happening. But seeing as some people are coming in, and because I did announce it to everyone to join, I'm happy to take some questions and not waste everyone's time, so that we can at least answer any questions quickly that people might have, any ideas, and sort of chat through Equalizer on more of a deeper level. So for anyone that's for anyone that wants to start to learn about Equalizer, they might have some questions. There might be areas that they're trying to learn, certain specific areas. We can touch on that. So if anyone wants to put any answers in the questions or down there in the comment section, we can sort of start to address some of those. And I can describe it with my hands. I'm good at that. So does anyone have any questions or anything like that? Don't be shy. Anyone there? Any questions? Anything they want to ask specifically about a certain topic, whether it's around liquidity pools or So I'm seeing one come through here. Maybe you can start talking a bit about what you think might be interesting, and what might be interesting and questions might develop. Okay. So there we go. And I think the newcomers would benefit from knowing the basic differences of a SAM and a VAM, and why you don't put volatile tokens in stable pools. So I think that's a good place to start. I'll try and get through these questions as they come through. But you obviously in our platform have a twin AMM, so it's an automated market maker. You've got two liquidity pool types, so you've got a stable one and a volatile one. The main differences are the mathematical equation that dictate the swaps and the volatility of that swap. So for a stable or a SAM, that stable pool is dedicated for assets that don't move much in price and should be pegged to each other. And then you move on to an asset like a volatile asset using FTM USDC as having a volatile pairing where they will move a fair bit because they're not pegged assets. So these two pools are very important for Equalizer because they allow us to attack two types of the market. So we basically use like a curve style system on one side, and then we use like a Uniswap system on the other side, which allows people to do those, FTM to ETH swaps. And then on the other side, we're letting people do the USDC to DAI swaps. And then we're able to incentivize it all in one thing. So it's almost like you're pulling two systems together. You're getting Curve, Uniswap, and you're using some of Curve's mechanisms to then feed the system and the economy that's been built on Equalizer. So hopefully that gives people an understanding on the liquidity pools. And if we go further into how a liquidity pool works, because some people might be looking to learn, and I think it's one of the most important aspects for you to understand. So I look at a liquidity pool as two assets that are 50-50 in our circumstance anyway. There are different types of liquidity pools, but for us, it's a 50-50 mix. So you might have $4 million of USDC and $4 million of Phantom. And that, depending on how many Phantom tokens are in that pool, is the price that's there at the moment. So that's the automated market maker. So if someone wants to sell Phantom, what will happen is they will input Phantom into the pool. There'll be more Phantom now, so the price will go down. And USDC obviously isn't going to change in its actual price because it's the asset it's pegging off. But effectively, what will happen is you will then get some of your USDC some of the USDC out of the pool. So there will be less and it will balance again. So there'll be less USDC and more Phantom, but it's still at 50%. Okay. So that's how a liquidity pool works, having two assets that you put together in a 50-50 mix. And then that allows people to basically access the contract and take however many tokens out of each side that they're requesting. And then you've got the mathematical equation in the background, which is then showing a price level. So that's the big advancement of a DEX and the way that they've structured these automated market makers to operate. As opposed to if you're looking at a centralized exchange, you've got more like just an order book, okay? So that order book would just have buys and sells, very similar to going on like a stock market or something like that. And when someone wants to buy and there's a sell at the same price, they match and go. Obviously, when you're using contracts, it's very difficult to do that and do it effectively. So the use of liquidity pools is very, very important. The next thing is, why would anyone ever put two assets together on your DEX unless you incentivize it? So I think you move into this concept of understanding that liquidity needs to be incentivized to survive. And that's where Equalizer comes into its own, because we have a token that has utility and allows the people that own that token to earn the fees from these pools that are moving up and down all day to then send this flywheel around and incentivize those pools. So we're moving from like a Uni V2 sort of liquidity pool to then why would someone place that liquidity there? Because when someone puts liquidity in a pool, they may, when they take it, they're going to get 50% of each asset when they pull it back out of the pool. So if the phantom price went down, you would effectively have more USDC and less phantom. And if you put $1 million in, you might be coming out with $999,000. So there's a reason that we incentivize people to put it in there with some sort of return. So they're taking the opportunity to place liquidity there, knowing they can earn on top, and they're hoping that outstrips if there's any price decrease. So it's like a hedged risk. I think that gives a little bit of an understanding on how liquidity pools work, the differences between the stable swaps and the curve in that stable swap and the way that they interact. And then moving into our model, how it incentivizes. So is there any more sort of questions that people are sort of thinking, how does this work? Can Blake explain it for me? See if we can get anyone else coming through. Thanks for that. Voting APR, sorry, I'll read it out. Thanks for taking questions. Is voting APR an efficiency calculation of how much each vote currently earns you in dollars of bribes for the given pool? A little breakdown on that would be helpful. So is the voting APR an efficiency calculation? So the voting APR on the UI that you're looking at is actually what's on offer for the week in bribes and combined with the fees. Okay, so we've just updated the calculation there to show people. But basically what happens is let's just say we'll put a number on it. There's $60,000. I'm going to put 100,000 in case I need to do math. $100,000 in fees and bribes combined. Now, what we do then is we get the amount of voters, and then we divide that into how many voters and the price of equal at the time to then create the APR for that. So if you had equal at, let's say, $10, like just to make it easier, if equals at $10, then and there's 100% APR, then that would mean over the year, if everything stayed the same, then you would get an extra $10 back. That's without compounding it, okay? So if you've got an APR of 100% based on how many people are voting for that pool, then you would receive back week on week, you would then take back the exactly double because it's 100% APR. If it was 10% APR, then you would get back of your $10 an extra $1, okay? But obviously you still maintain your asset. Hopefully that gives you a better understanding of how that APR calculation works. And I think it's pretty, once you understand that it's just about your return over the year, it's pretty easy to then work out what pool you might want to vote for based on who's bribing it and fees. But I don't think it's worth getting too caught up on whether it's a fee or a bribe, because the system and the way Andre built it was to have internal bribes and internal and external bribes. An internal bribe is a fee, an external bribe is an external briber like a protocol. So really, at the end of the week, you're just going to get the combination of both. And we're pretty happy that now the platform is displaying it better. It was actually displaying it probably a little bit less on the fee side before. So we've improved some stuff there, and now it's calculating really well with the fees and bribes together. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding there. We'll move on to the next question. Are you thinking in create a way to make a kind of automatic vote, for example, have 3 ways where obtain better bribes, where obtain more equal, or a pool to be used, something like that? Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that we need to get onto. Initially, I would say the reason for the delay in us not working heavier with other third parties around this, was that we wanted to do it ourselves. But when you launch a DeFi project as complex as this, and you're trying to get through all of the avenues, you simply realize that sometimes it's better to focus on the core. And we've learned a lot in our short time so far around focusing on the core and getting that to be the best possible that we can. So definitely, we'd like to work a lot closer with another party to build that system, because I think it is important to have automated voting for people that don't want to, necessarily vote every week. There is systems already that are sort of running on the Velodrome system. So we'd be keen to see if some of that might map over. And I've even been having some initial conversations. So definitely think we will get an automatic vote sooner rather than later. It's just down to finding the right partner person or protocol that's willing to build that is trustworthy for you guys, and that can obviously make life easier for anyone that just wants to be a little bit more hands off and like build an equal position or a VE equal position or something like that. So, any other questions? I'm really, really sorry that I couldn't get the screen share up, because I had really to go through all the tools and stuff that you could use. So I like to use Dex Screener to check out the volumes and check out how each pair is performing. It's got really good data. Something it also shows the prices and that, and you can have a look. DeFi Llama is another place where you want to look at our TVL. You can look at the volumes on a daily basis there. So that's another one. And I was actually going to go into the background and show you the contracts and how they operate. And I'll try and I might save that for another day when I can actually show it. So I just went directly on for a first live and didn't realize I can't show. So who would use Equalizer to exchange and why, as opposed to other dexes? This is more to follow up on your explanation of how Equalizer dex works. So I think it's a really good question. And I think sometimes we don't always get the message across to new people as they first come across our decks. But firstly, I'd like to say at the core, we're a liquidity hub. And that's what Andre built, a liquidity hub. So if you then take the approach of we're a liquidity hub, you then understand that the swaps are a secondary action of us housing lots of liquidity. If we can house lots of liquidity, then we have all these actions that occur. There's aggregators that will send us volume. There's bots that will do arbitrage. There's people that will do arbitrage. And then you've got our swap function on the front end, which allows people to swap in a really good fashion because we're housing a lot of liquidity. And as I discussed in those liquidity pools, the more liquidity you have, the less impact in price. So if we come down a little bit and we look at that liquidity pool and they're low, you'll get a really rapid swap in this, and you'll get a lot of price impact. But as you build these liquidity pools up, they get less and less and less to almost no price impact when you get to the top. So the reason it's important for us to be a liquidity hub first is that we can provide an efficient swap for anyone. And by being able to provide that best rate in the market, everyone wants to route through us, whether it's a bot, whether it's an aggregator. And to then make it even better, actually, I was just looking at it this morning, and it's a massive alpha drop, but the swap UI is in test mode. There's some huge news to come out around that. And if I could have shared it, I was tempted to even run through and show you guys, because it's going to be like we've been working on this and waiting for this for so long now, and establishing the best way to take it to market. But to give you a small amount of alpha on that one, we're going to be able to swap any asset on Phantom, and we're going to give you good rates. So there's definitely a great opportunity for us now to on-ramp people onto Equalizer itself as a swap unit. And we probably haven't heavily promoted that because we didn't believe we had the best swap engine at the start, and that was evident to most. But we know now we've got a top-end solution for anyone that wants to operate on Phantom. and then we're going to take that to the masses. So really, to answer your question further, as soon as that drops, like we're going to be saying, just swap on Equalizer. Don't go anywhere else to swap, because you're supporting the platform that you support. You're getting great rates. And it's now the onboarding ramp, because it's such a good system to use. There's so much liquidity in the right pairs as well, that it makes sense to onboard people into Phantom and start using Equalizer as their exchange. And we see that as like the tip of the iceberg, because that's the entry-level people we want coming along to start to learn about Equalizer. But at first, just start swapping on it. So by swapping on it, we can then teach them the rest. So I'm just going here. Maybe explain why there's sometimes shown an APR for an LP that turns out not to earn anything. That one there is a tricky one, and it's a contract issue that came through from the solidly model. At the moment, the reward rate can get doesn't always display correctly if the pool doesn't get voted. So there are ways that we mitigate that, and sometimes, like last week, it was worse than others. It unfortunately, a couple of things changed at the last minute with the votes, and that sent them off. So they sent a couple off. A couple of pools didn't go off correctly. But the good news is, in our updated contracts, that's all removed. So unfortunately, until we do the upgrade, we can't remove that the reward rate gets stuck based on the vote from the week before, which then sends off these APRs. So that's just giving you the complete honest answer on what happens with that contract. But moving forward, as soon as we get the new contracts integrated, that won't happen. So I think the biggest thing is just to, like, if you do want to LP one of those ones that looks a little bit tricky, like there's not much liquidity in there, then definitely just check the votes from the week before. And most of the time, most of the voting is getting done at the end of the week. So if there's no votes on it on Monday, you can assume that there's no votes on it for the week. And please try and avoid that pool. We have done some stuff like in the past, I ran them down to 0 on APR, but then that doesn't work either, because what about when an APR shoots back up? So I think, it's something we need to manage a little bit, and it will go away. But for now, definitely check the votes on those pools. I think that's the easiest way. So I'm here thinking of the mythical and fabled Ghost APR and why it can confuse people who's providing APR LP. So exactly to that question there, I think that one hopefully gives you a good understanding of where the contract gives the wrong reward rate, and then the UI just displays what it's going to display. So that one's there. Hi, Blake. Are you looking into anything cross-chain? Also, have you considered doing token burns? Yeah, so there's definitely a couple of opportunities for us to go cross-chain, I think. And I think it is the future. Our swap engine is our first step to investigating and thinking about what cross-chain might look like for us. Definitely not going to be available in our swap UI, but it gives me some ideas and ways to think about that. And again, some of the things we can't, it's not that we don't want to share it with the community, but we don't necessarily want to share all of our top secret ideas when there's so many solidly forks going on there, Tim. So some of that we need to keep a little bit quiet, because we think we're at the bleeding edge at the moment. We're doing heaps of stuff with NFTs, and again, like, it's going to start people thinking, what are these guys doing with NFTs? But we're doing some pretty. So the think tank in the background is amazing. Not only have we got a really strong team coming up with ideas all the time, but we've actually got even community members entering stuff in. Some of the large VE equal holders have a lot of good input, and you'll see them running around. They've got the Equalist title, so that they had basically either be amazing in the community or have a certain amount of VE equal to enter that. And like you've seen the article that came out from Levi. So there's some smart minds that are all, talking coming up with ideas every day. The only thing is that I've noticed with crypto is it moves a little bit slower than we'd all like. It's a 24/7 market, and you can easily get thrown from side to side very, very quickly. And there's a lot of like background conversations with different protocols, and some people it would take all day. It almost takes all day just to get through all the, can we market for you? Do you need a Web3 developer? Do you, like, the amount of like emails, not emails, but DMs that come through is just insane. So yeah, it's a full-time job just trying to keep up with that, let alone put the advancements out. Token burns is a big one for us. I think the consensus from the chat and more makes me think that we'll burn definitely our airdrop. I think that makes sense to remove it from circulation, considering we don't need it, in my opinion. And if it creates good optics, it does. It stops people thinking that we might at some point airdrop it to people, which, I could see some advantages to doing that. But again, we're about keeping as little voters as possible at any point by giving as much utility to equal, so that people get the higher APR. And that's been occurring like double on any other fork that I'm seeing out there at the moment. So actually, I'm not seeing an APR as high as ours, and we're 3 months in on any platform in DeFi, full stop. So again, I've asked many times if someone can find one that pays a better APR, but I'm not seeing one at all. So token burns is something that's very, very talked about within the team. We need to consider all sorts of avenues around that and what might make sense. But again, any changes we make, we're very and Grigori is huge on this, and I take his advice on it and think it's really sensible. You don't want to change too much, right? Like, you have a system that works, you want to keep it. It's very complex, and you want to keep it simple. And any changes you make, you want them to be like very, very small. We've seen when someone makes a big change, like TVL can drop, TVL can go like this. All of these things can happen with big changes. So you just want to wind little change after little change, rather than doing something too crazy. So we're working with it to understand what might be the best. It says here, have you got him on mind kind of roadmap of equal? And if you have it, how many years of work are in front of you? So yeah, the roadmap's huge. And like, I would say that the biggest thing at the moment is to update those contracts to improve some of the areas like we spoke about before. So that's definitely up there with the top. But the first thing that you'll see come out is the swap UI. That's been huge for us, because, as I said, it's our onboarding ramp, right? Like, we need the swap function to be so simple, because I know it sounds bad, but we're a liquidity hub first, and those people are more advanced in their actions. So if they get a small bug or something in the voting or whatever, like a little error message come up or something, it's not the biggest focus of us, because these people are better at dealing with that. Okay, but when you go to the swap UI, you're getting entry level people coming through and using that possibly it's their first time onto Phantom, right? So we need to focus on those people and make sure that we educate them, but we bring them into a really nice interface so that they stick around and they drive volume for us, which gives us all fees. And obviously, the more fees we get, the more that it supports equal price and the more that people want to bribe. So there's this massive flywheel going around. And the swap UI I see as like something very, very, very important to focus on for us, because it's going to be our on-ramp. And we're doing this YouTube live now, but we're going to take it to YouTube. Like, YouTube is going to be like a hub of bringing new people in. Like, we're almost going to do Phantom's job for them, alongside them, I should say. Like, we're going out there, we're going to market ourselves to bring people to Phantom as much as we can, because that is the big opportunity in this market, right? To get people coming across the Phantom, seeing Equalizer, and then falling in love with it, and seeing the system and starting to understand it. So the swap UI is like paramount in ensuring we can bring those people across. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of our initial roadmap. As for subsequent stuff, like the NFT stuff's huge. Like, I don't know if you just saw, some people are already building like an NFT DAO where you get the punk and then that builds a V equal position in the background like a flywheel, and then has a voting power aspect to it then. So maybe a protocol might want to own one of these NFTs. So we did collaborate a little bit there. We're not like sort of that's not even at the tip of the iceberg of what we're thinking for NFTs. You've already seen that we're the first to go out with data-driven NFTs, which is working really, really well on PaintSwap. There may be opportunities later on to develop like a easier way to swap on more of a like a PaintSwap, but more like a DEX. So there's huge amounts of things that we've got in the pipeline that are considered. Definitely going to go for variable fees. 543 people found him testing it out yesterday. So we're definitely going to have the ability to move fees up and down on pool dependent. We can move them at the moment, but we can't move them on individual pools. So we'll do that. And that's going to be huge, right? Because like, let's just say Conk, for example, and these guys, all the Conk guys are going to be sending this video everywhere. Just that section, Conk. We could put a meme pool at 1%, right? And then that's going to support the liquidity in a huge aspect, because the moment you go from $1 million in trading volume at 0.2%, getting you $2,000 in fees, to now 1%, and then you're taking in $10,000, right, on $1 million in fees for the day. So like, you can imagine how much liquidity you can support with $70,000 in fees for a day if you're getting that much volume through this meme pool. So we see some huge advantages in being able to play with and find sweet spots. And where everyone thinks that fees should go down, we're the opposite. We think fees should go up. And the reason being is, once you build deep liquidity, the fees don't matter as much, right? It's how, like, as we said at the start, when you have little liquidity, it's like this, small liquidity, there's too much price action. You get up the top and there's no price action. So the fees are then mitigated and you can charge a higher fee. So I think that's to give you some of the ideas of what's on the roadmap and exciting things to look forward to. That's literally, sorry, I'm going down here. Opinion on Jeff. Well, let's address that one, because I definitely think that's very topical at the moment. And after him being a bit silly in the chat, and I think it's him there, yeah, it's gonna not end well for him. So Jeff's a good guy. He's really helped us come alive with some content there. He's written some good articles, and in the background, he's got some good ideas as well. So yeah, thanks, Jeff. That's literally what happened to me. Haha. Luckily, my equal purchase through the swap worked out splendidly. So again, we've got someone coming through and proving that the swap function is really important to onboarding people to Phantom and Equalizer. And I'm super excited, and I'd like to get it out this week, but I can't promise anything. And then I'll probably make 6 videos just showing it off, because I think, like, where else would you go and swap when you can swap with your favorite guy's Equalizer, and you're just getting these fantastic paths, and it's just, giving you assets, just trouble-free swapping. I can't wait for it. So does anyone else have any other questions? Because we'll wrap it up pretty soon. I appreciate everyone jumping on. I know it didn't turn out exactly how we wanted. I will somehow work out how to do another one, maybe even in a week. I'll probably need to get some other application that allows me to share screen as well. Or who knows, maybe I could have shared screen here and I've just done something wrong in the setup. And we do have a guy helping us a lot with YouTube as well. So I will give that as a little bit of alpha. So, he's probably going to kill me after this and go, what was that? Like, we got your thumbnail right. And then you couldn't even start the live properly. So there's definitely some big stuff coming in YouTube. Where we I see it as a really, really good place to bring people to see our platform. So we'll make a lot of videos there, and we're going to try and make them more fun but educational, and grasp new audiences from them. So a little bit of alpha there around where we see ourselves being able to market the product a bit better. And yeah, bring new people to Phantom. So what I've seen a lot of, which is really, really good, and I love seeing it, is people come in and they tell someone else about Phantom. And then I did a live the other day where we was a catch up, but it was a live share screen, and we went through exactly what I was going to do today. And all these people, you could just see them lighting up. And it's sort of what brought me to going, hey, we should do one of these. Because the more you understand about Equalizer, and then some things start to click, but you've obviously got to have people coming along ready to, expand their knowledge base to understand this really complex system, which we're there to hold your hand as well. Okay. So we're going to make a lot of content. And we have made a lot of content to try and help people understand what it is we're doing. So if there's no more questions, I think we'll wrap it up. I'll give you, couple of seconds there to see if anyone else wants to type a question through, just in case I missed you and you were just sort of waiting around. But again, I can't apologize enough that it didn't go the way I wanted to with this session. Definitely next time it will be much more educational, and I'll do a test, even do my own test to make sure that it works, and I've got the screen sharing and stuff like that. So that's my fault there. So so we're starting to get thank you for the times coming through. So it looks like everyone's, hopefully learnt a little bit. I'm trying to work out how to best spend my time as well, because I spend a lot of time in the Discord, but I also to answer questions, but I'm also wanting to make more content that can be shared and bring more and more people to Equalizer, which is sort of the core. Do you know what I mean? Like, the more we can drive people to see our product and let them then test it out, the better we're going to do. So thanks everyone for your time. Look forward to doing more of these. Look forward to putting more content out there for everyone. More written content if you prefer it that way, more video content, trying to push everything through Twitter and everything like that. So really appreciate everyone's time, and we'll wrap it up there. But thanks very much. See you later.